Till the next time.
Call the meeting to order for the January of 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone. This time, I'll turn the meeting over to Vice Chair Lee.
Good evening. Commissioner Godwin is going to have our invocation.
Let us bow our heads. Most holy and almighty God, as once again, Lord, we come to praise you, to glorify you, to thank you, to bring us into a new year. And so, Father, we look forward to your wisdom, your knowledge, your understanding. Can't nobody do us like you, so you guide us and direct us. You are that light into our feet and our lamp into our pathway. And we pray now for this here Sampson County, Lord, as everything that you have given us to do, that we do it in a willingness of your will. Now bless each one here. Give us a sound mind and a way to be able to do things in a decently and ordered way. We thank you for who you are and what you have done for us. Continue to bless us and guide us. We give you glory, we give you honor. In Jesus' matchless name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Will you please rise and join me for the national pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Godwin, Commissioner Lee. At this time, we need to look at the agenda, but with the walk-ons, does anyone have any questions concerning the walk-on? We're good. Okay, with that being the case, I'll accept the motion to approve the agenda with the walk-on.
I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. All right, we have the agenda approved. All right, this time we go to item 1. We'll open a public hearing. Ms. Lance.
Good evening. The following matter was addressed by the Planning Board at its December 11th, 2023 meeting. Case R2303, Rezoning Companies, Inc. This is a rezoning request for tax parcel 07172841101 and tax parcel 07016922901. It's reviewed by the Sampson County Planning Board, and the proposal is to rezone 2.01 acres from residential agricultural to conditional commercial for the purpose of a retail variety store. The proposed site is located on the corner of Wright Ridge Road and Garland Highway, a major thoroughfare. The proposed site will be served by county water and individual septic system. The Sampson County Land Use Plan classifies the parcels as being within the rural residential agricultural land use category. The Planning Board voted 4-1 to recommend approval of the rezoning request. The recommendation for approval is based off the fact that the conditional rezoning to establish a retail variety store is consistent with the Sampson County Land Use Plan due to the parcel fronting Garland Highway, and the proposed use will serve and benefit the surrounding community. That's all I have.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Let's say, is the board approved 4-1? Is that?
Yes, sir.
That the case? Okay. I think we have some people signed up to speak,
We do.
so we'll call on Priscilla Powell.
Good evening and Happy New Year. First, giving honor to God and to the board, Sampson County Board of Commissioners.
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Priscilla Powell. I'm the widow of the late Fred Powell, the building contractor, and I live at 12680 Garland Highway, and my land is adjacent to where you all would like to put the Dollar General. But the reason why I have an issue with this is because, help me understand, why would you want to put it there at an intersection that when you're coming from Garland, you're down a hill, then you come up the hill, and I've had problems getting out of my driveways because of the traffic. And then the intersection is on the other side of my house. And Along with that, across the road from the intersection is my neighbor, is Mr. Van. And Mr. Van is a young man trying to make an honest living with his own trucking company. And that will cause a hazard for him also. The next thing is, I have not had a problem with my drainage system since I fixed it. But if Dollar General comes and start building and digging holes and everything, then it's gonna throw my drainage system off. And then my basement will start flooding again. Also, what is this gonna do to my property tax? Have you thought about that? I feel like this will change the area that I live in from a quiet, peaceful area to a crime area. When you think about a store going up, you think about people coming and breaking in the stores. When they break in the stores, the first thing they do when they start running, they're gonna run towards my house because behind my house I have some buildings. And I don't feel like that's fair to me. You have thousands of Dollar Generals. They need to take in consideration that the town of Garland is struggling. They're going to take from the Piggly Wiggly, they're going to take from the Family Dollar store just to please themselves. And not only that, if that Dollar General goes there, I feel like within a year, there are going to be several accidents, and somebody's going to get killed because of Dollar General. Also, the reason why my husband purchased the land that we live on is because it was very peaceful. He didn't like a lot of people coming and going, and because he loved his privacy. This is going to take every bit of that from me. Now, I stand before you today, and I ask you, I don't know where you live, have no idea, but how would you feel to know that a Dollar General was going to be built next to your property line? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Powell. All right, next is Belinda Faison.
Good evening. My name is Belinda Faison. I live at 219 Lisbon Bridge Road. That's in Garland. Ms. Powell is a neighbor of mine, and we used to live next door. We tried to buy that property for 14 years, and so now all of a sudden, it's been sold to Dollar General. 14 years we stayed at that home, and we were supposed to be buying that property. And so from what they were telling us that our credit score wasn't high enough, our credit score is high. So that couldn't have been the problem. So all of a sudden now Dollar General has it. It's a flooding area. It's a low-lying area. Miss Powell's house sits high, but her basement area is kind of like low in the back, and she has one of those little ponds that run like a little sewage area that runs underneath. And if it's like the one we had in Alabama, when it rains, it floods. It actually is like a river. So I'm trying to find out, when they put this Dollar General there, and they start paving this thing, and they get out there and digging holes and everything else, and the water get to shifting. And so from what I'm hearing is that the water, the path of the water goes to the least resistance. They got all this pavement out there. It lands right on top of the pavement, and then it floods more. And then I'm sure it's gonna have a negative impact on her property. So I'm trying to find out, why would they even wanna put a Dollar General next to someone's home? I'm not really sure why that's going on. I'm very sorry that Mr. Powell died, that he's not here to represent his wife. They need to have engineers coming in there and actually look at that property and find out exactly what would happen if they start digging holes next to her house. It has to have some kind of negative effect when you're digging, because the ground starts shifting. Okay, she already gets flooding now, because I remember she called me one day and told me that her basement was flooding. And like I told you, she has like a little area right there to the side, this little drainage system. When we lived there, it was almost like a geyser. when it rained, the water was everywhere. We had to actually leave that home and go to a shelter during the hurricane. So like I said, when you building something and you got all that pavement, when it's ground, the water's gonna be soaked into the ground. Okay, so that did help a little bit. So now what's gonna happen when the pavement comes? And all the digging comes, all the noise comes, all the traffic comes? It really doesn't make any sense. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But I was thinking, which I'm not really sure if it has like a negative impact or not, but what does the environmental protection rules state? If anybody know about when they dig in and ground shifting and all this other kind of stuff. So I'm trying to find out if, would they be able to alert the Environmental Protection Agency about this particular issue? So I'm not really sure, or either FEMA. I tried to pull up one of those emergency maps that they have with no avail, because I had a few problems with that map, because I was talking to someone, they told me to talk to a Pamela, what do they call her name? Pamela Casual. I guess she's right here in Sampson County or whatever, but I didn't get a chance to call her. So I'm not really sure exactly how that map works. All I know is that it's got a pinpoint right there at that area, and it is a flood zone. So I'm trying to find out, why would they put a Dollar General, even down the street, there was so much water you couldn't even cross it. When we had that last hurricane, we had a little area where they got the pit stop. We couldn't even cross it. It washed out the whole road. So what's that gonna do to our property? I'm not really sure I was hoping, which I'm probably sure it won't work, that we wouldn't really think about money, but we would be thinking about people's lives, people's homes that they have built and that they have been in for years and years and years. Like I said, I'm not even related to her, but she's my neighbor and I love her. And I love the rest of my neighbors. I know I made sure I knew about all my neighbors and what they were going through. If something came up, they would call me. So I'm trying to find out now if there's any way we can go through the Environmental Protection Agency, because as far as I'm concerned, Garland is just a plain wetland because it floods everywhere. It floods everywhere. I'm not even sure how they got all that stuff down there. They were down there putting some lines down, and the water kind of drained back a little bit. Next thing I look up, it's all the way up. I'm not really sure what kind of lines they put down there. So thanks for listening at me. And also, I heard about something about an elevation certificate survey. What is that about? And see if we need one of those or something, to find out exactly what happens when you go out and start digging, especially in a flood area, about what would happen to someone else's property when that water start running. Because if it's having a negative impact on her property now, nobody's dug already. Imagine what's gonna happen when they do start digging.
Thank you, Ms. Faison. You're welcome. Reverend Bobby Faison. You're next.
Reverend Bobby Faison. I'm from, Soulful City. I've been in this wheelchair since 2006. We just moved from Garland Highway and Wright's Bridge Road to Lisbon Bridge Road and a couple of blocks over. I used to, like my wife said, we tried to buy that property for 14 years. we had problems because of the people that owned the property lived up north, they were old, and we just couldn't get the property. Anyway, I used to, when I was walking, I got 8 dogs. I used to could turn my dogs loose and just let them run. Well, that happened after I got in the wheelchair, and they would wait for me at the corner of Wright Bridge Road, and I walk them, ride in my wheelchair all the way round to what's it? Rallytown Road and well, Ebenezer Forest. And for their exercise and mine. And we just go out there for a couple of hours. And I would take a whistle, I could walk them without a leash. And with no problem. But where I'm living now, I still have I've had to build a pen to house them in at night. Well, in wintertime, we take them all inside so that they stay warm enough. When I want to walk them that same path, my wife and my grandson have to load them up about 3 at a time, and she drives them down to the same corner and turn them loose so I can walk them down the same route. And when they walk, she come in. I call her, she come and pick them up. Okay. The reason my wife have to walk them, have to come and pick them up and take them down to Wrights Bridge Road, cause it's a residential area that I live in now, and people aren't allowed to walk their dogs without a leash, and they have a lot of animals. You have to protect other people's property and their animals. So I'm in a different situation. Anyhow, I don't understand how for all these years now, you can tell with that we talk. I don't know too much about politics and stuff like that. But this is a residential area too. Miss Power live in where we live in Sister Fan that lived across the street. They have their homes and businesses over there, and no commercial property is on that street beyond Sister Power on either side. Where that starts, I guess, is way farther on down Garland Highway into the town of Garland, with the exception of Anthony's little business there, Johnson's business. Anyway, they can just invade our neighborhood like that, and turn it into a commercial little corner into a commercial place, and since Powell, she would be closed in unless they trying to force her out or something like that. They trying to change the whole thing. This is serious. I mean, what's gentrification? What does that mean? How they did when in New York? How they just pushed people out when they didn't want it there anymore. And there's the powerful people. Just because they have money, just because they want to run these people out. What's going on? They don't like Sister Powell. They want to run the commercial line on down to the end. A lot of Dollar General is all over. And I never seen one in the spot like that runs on into a residential area. I like this is too serious. I'm glad to see people speaking out. This might not get anything done, but I'm so proud, and so my people are standing up, just one or two. This ain't right. We say a prayer, Christian folks, and just, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pastor. Next is Jessica Bowers.
When
Good evening. My name is Jessica Bowers. I'm with Smith Bowers at 127 West Hargett Street, Suite 504, Raleigh, North Carolina, 27601. And my law firm represents Rezoning Companies, the applicant times two, in this case for the two parcels. Retzon is working closely with Ms. Carolyn Ann McLean, who is one of the applicants, and also Shelley Best. They're sisters, and they've engaged the services of Retzon to develop these two parcels. But in order to do so, they need to have these parcels rezoned, which is the reason we're here. They are currently zoned residential, agricultural, and the request on both of the application, I'll call them mirror image applications, is for both of them to be rezoned conditional commercial. I think this has already been mentioned, but I'll go ahead and refer to it again. This particular property is at the corner of the intersection of Wright Bridge Road and Garland Highway. Ms. McLean's property is the property that's abutted right at the corner of Wright Bridge Road and Garland, and her sister's property is adjacent to that. It's slightly south, so the most northern property is in the corner of the two roads at that intersection, and then the southern property is her sister, Ms. Best. I've heard a lot of different things tonight, and I get it. They're all a lot of concerns that are being voiced, particularly with regard to concerns about tax impact. I've heard crime mentioned. I heard issues, concerns about water and runoff, and then concerns about the safety of the roads and DOT implications. And I think you'd much rather hear from the engineer of record, Mr. Brown over here, than me with regard to those items. But I did want to tell you that we've heard that, and the intent is to address that here this evening. This particular rezoning will allow for the construction of a 10,640 square foot general retail store with associated parking, driveway, and other site-specific features. The zoning will allow place for residents to shop for everyday items in a convenient location without negative impacts to quality of life. The change in use will have minimum impact on the surrounding property, and I'll let Mr. Brown speak more to that. The proposed development will also help to increase the tax base, access to goods, and employment opportunities within the county. As I previously stated, the surrounding property is currently zoned residential agricultural, but there is a need for retail, this type of store in this area. It's currently not allowed, but with your permission to rezone, this type of store would be allowed in order to serve a community need. It's up to you to decide that the applicant meets the criteria that is articulated in the application, that the proposed rezoning will place all property similarly situated in the area in the same category in an appropriate complementary category, which is what I suggest to you today that we are demonstrating. This would be a complementary category. All uses permitted under the proposed district classification, light commercial, would be in a general public interest and not merely in the interest of an individual or a small group. And I would respectfully submit that this would serve a community need for those reasons mentioned. The uses permitted under the proposed district classification would be appropriate in the area, including the proposed change, and the character of the neighborhood would not be materially or adversely affected by the use permitted by the proposed change. Here, this land is located at the intersection of these two roads that I pointed out, two major roads. This intersection is high use for non-residential use. That runs the highway. It provides a service to the community, and it is, in fact, what we would respectfully submit a complementary use. I do want to point out that I believe it was Ms. Lee reached out to my client with performing due diligence, additional due diligence. We really appreciate that effort. And to the extent you and anybody else has particular questions, I probably won't be able to answer them, but these two gentlemen here on my right should be able to do so. I've got Greg Stewart here. He's with Rezoning Companies, and Scott Brown is our engineer of record. We just ask that you would just respectfully consider this request and allow the rezoning to occur for both parcels. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next is Greg Stewart.
Good evening. My name is Greg Stewart. I'm with the Rezoning Companies. I'll keep mine short and sweet. A couple of things just tonight to point out. It is not, I work for a development company. We do not work for any particular client. We serve over 30 clients nationwide. We are in the business of developing commercial retail or commercial spaces. It is not the intent of my company at all to push out or make any type of negative association with any community. We're there to serve the community. That's what we're intending to do. I am not here to speak on behalf of the ins and outs of NCDOT, DEQ, ENS as far as the drainage concerns, but I do want everyone to know as a development company, we have to go through different permitting processes and different checks and balances that will not allow any negative effects to the opposing or adjacent properties. So as far as speaking individually on them, I'll leave that to the expert and our engineer, but I just wanted to be clear that it's not our goal at all to disrupt the community. We're there to serve the community. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And again, I apologize. Ms. Lee and I had a 20 to 30-minute conversation earlier this week, going out the ins and outs of the conversation that was identified to the planning board. So I'd just like to thank you, Ms. Lee, for addressing those concerns and having the time for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Please come on. State your name.
Yes, sir. Scott Brown, 409 Chicago Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I didn't get in here in time to sign the sign-up sheet. I was ran a little late, so to speak, but I'll be glad to answer the board's questions and try to address the comments from the neighborhood. I was here during the planning board meeting and heard some of the comments. I got in here a few minutes and heard some of the same similar type of comments, and I'll try to address them as adequately as I can. This is a rezoning, so a lot of the questions that's being asked as far as specific, have you looked at the drainage, what stuff you've looked at it, we've looked at it so far from a bird's eye point of view, because you'd be putting the cart in front of the horse to look at it too far ahead without getting the rezoning approved. But as you know, there's not a whole lot of commercially zoned property in rural areas of Sampson County. I'm from Sampson County, born and raised in Sampson County, been in Sampson County my whole life. I love Sampson County, don't ever leave. It's gonna be way north. It ain't gonna be just a few little bits south or west, but, so I take pride in our county, and this is not the first Dollar General we've been a part of in Sampson County. And the Dollar Generals that we have been a part of have seemed to be, the community's been receptive to them. They've been an enhancement to the community. It's been a need. We're not asking to put a bar out here. We're not asking to put a club, anything like that. We're looking to put something that's going to benefit the entire community. And as far as the location, you want commercial zone property on higher traveled roads because that's where you get your traffic at. So we got Garland Highway here, and we're sitting at an intersection, which is exactly where you want commercial property to be at. So the most access you can get, the most visibility. And unfortunately, it's in an area that's, like most of Sampson County, it's zoned residential agriculture. So if we went along that route, then there'd be no commercial development outside of Clinton area, or maybe along 421. But we have spoken with DOT. They have seen a copy of the plan that we're proposing and looked at it. And DOT is good with the plan. We are gonna make some improvements to Garland Highway. We're gonna put a right turn lane in from the intersection, a short taper and a right turn lane into the property. No left turn lane, no other improvements on the other road, because Dollar Generals are not Walmarts. They're not just commercial shopping centers, strip malls are not huge traffic generators. It's something where if you forgot something at the end of the day, you run in, zip in and pick it up and you go about on your business. Most people don't go in there and do their average shopping. It's a place of convenience. So it's not a high traffic generator. As far as stormwater goes, is it gonna generate more stormwater than's out there now on 2 residential lots? Yes. I'm not gonna sit there and tell you it's not. I mean, I'd be foolish to tell you that putting a parking lot in and a building in is not gonna generate additional stormwater. It will. But that stormwater right now is, most of the stormwater is drained into the street, the ditch cross sections inside of DOT's right of way. So the majority of the stormwater that's generated from this site will be directed into the existing roadside ditches. And those roadside ditches now, we've surveyed the property. It looks like there's kind of a low area almost at the intersection where water would stand. So what we'll do as part of what our improvements is looking at improving the existing drainage that's out there now, making the drainage better, and looking at trying to minimize any impacts to the adjoining neighbors. Most of the stormwater generated from this property will be running off into the NCDOT right-of-way. Public water's available, which is something else you're looking at when you're developing commercial property. So, I mean, it's the ideal location from an amenity access point for a commercially zoned piece of property. And outside of, like I said, we've carried it about as far as we can carry it until we can get either, hopefully a favorable vote from the board on the rezone, and then we can look at going further with it. But as Greg mentioned a few minutes ago, we do have to go through all the permits. We cannot do anything out here without permit approval. That includes Sampson County planning. We have to have permit approvals from. We have to have a driveway permit from NCDOT. We have to have a approval from Sampson County Public Works. We also have to have approval from NCDEQ for our erosion control and our grading permit. So, like I said, nobody's gonna be out there doing anything off the cuff or building off of a napkin. This is gonna be a properly engineered set of drawings that's gonna be in accordance with all the local and state requirements. And so, with that being said, I'll be glad to answer any specific questions that the board has that maybe didn't address some of the concerns of the citizens, or I'll absolutely try to do my best to address those concerns.
Thanks, sir. Does anyone have any questions?
I would just like to say in my conversation with Mr., what was your name? Greg, with Greg. He assured me that the problems that were initiated by the residents, they would be taken care of before anything was done. I don't know all of the problems, I just know a few of them that he had meant that was in the planning. But he assured me that they would be taken care of before any buildings were going up. And like he said, everything have to have a permit. I mean, they just don't, nobody can build anything without getting a permit. And that would be the proper way to do it. And they know exactly what they have to have with that permit. They can't go there and stick something up or cause something to build something that's gonna go wrong for the people, because it will come back to haunt them. They may spend billions of dollars trying to get out of it. So that's what we have to consider when we're looking at things like this also, is that they're willing. We got a willing partner that's willing to take care of the problem. If, from my understanding, it won't be any additional cost to the consumers. It won't be anything that you have to pay for. But if they find problems, if they see anything that's gonna be a problem, they will fix it before it gets started.
We're looking to be a good neighbor. I've worked for this company for years, developing and designing Dollar Generals all over the state. And whenever they get into a particular area, they like to stay in that area. This is, like I said, this is not the first development or one we've done in Sampson County, and we hope it's not the last. So we don't want a bad mark. I don't want a bad mark on my name. They certainly don't want one on their name. So we take pride in our work, and we look to better the community, not degrade it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Brown?
Yeah, hand up, Ms. Powell. Ms. Powell, have I-
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
With the FSA office, and we work hand in hand with soil conservation, and they will go out and do wetland reports. And how can you change wetland from wetland?
Not to be demeaning to your question, but these are two residential lots. These are not wetlands.
They are, I live next door,
Okay.
they're wetland. The creek on the Black Ridge Road, it floods out. See, you coming in for a couple of days, a couple of hours, but I've been there for 50+ years.
Right. I'm not negating anything or disputing anything you're talking about. Like I said, you're a lot more familiar with the area than I have. But as far as a wetland, there's certain definitions and categories that you have to meet to qualify for a wetland. And you are correct. If you have a wetland there, you cannot just go and put anything you want to in a wetland without a permit. But we have environmental consultants that go out and evaluate properties to confirm that there's no wetlands on it, make sure that there's proper drainage for the septic field to go on it. But this has been looked at, and to my knowledge, there are no wetlands on the property. If there were, then it would be a game changer. As small as the property is, more than likely, we would have moved on and never pursued the property.
Okay. Does anyone up here have any more questions?
Do I need to step away? Because
Yes,
I know
please.
I don't necessarily need to be addressing.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I want to know, he was just talking about environmental, like what I was saying, environmental protection. Have they been notified? Environmental protection,
I'm sorry, what's the
have
question?
they been notified?
We have to go through NCDEQ, so all environmental agencies that will pass permitting or have to weigh in on the decision have to notify us.
Okay, what did they say? Did they say, that Garland is pretty much a swamp really, but is it a, Did they, classify it as a wetland?
No, ma'am, there's a flood wetland map that's, available on there, and I can actually show you that these two lots are not in the wetlands.
Do we want to send this back to planning?
No.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
got a question.
yes, ma'am.
I noticed in the pictures, that there are two houses on the property now. How recently has someone lived in the houses?
How do we live in?
I lived in there 14 years, and it's a flooded area. Wrightsburg Road, that one bridge they got two bridges. It had to be all closed off, even to traffic. You know, I was in there with hurricane season or something. What was it, baby? That we had to stay in the shelter for Fisher's Drive. We had to stay in the shelter for 7 days before we was able to come back in the property. These people don't live here. In paper, politics, everybody know about America. They can fix anything on paper, but we talking about experience. We live on the land, people, human beings. We're not paper. This woman from Raleigh is representing from Raleigh. She don't know about that property. I couldn't go in my house. This woman, Miss Priscilla, she couldn't get her family in, come in her house. Man, this is a swamp.
Thank you, Mr.
Everybody know it's a swamp. They talking about putting $1 general. That's common sense.
Okay,
I don't have to be,
Okay, we've had a chance to talk about it, so let's see. Ms. Lance?
I was gonna say, the photos that you're referring to, there's actually only one home, one abandoned home that's located on one of those parcels. The other one is just wooded land.
Okay, and, let's see, this adheres to the Sampson County Land Use Plan that
Yes,
is.
sir, with it being on the main thoroughfare, and it's a need
And
to serve the community.
were these folks available at the, board,
Yes,
Planning
they
board
did
meeting.
come, and
so they heard their
yes, sir, their
concerns,
concerns are in our minutes.
and they voted 4-1 to
Yes, sir.
approve? Okay, all right, thank you. Yes, sir.
I was just gonna state, yeah, there's two properties. Miss McLean's property does not have a residence on it, and Miss Best's property does have a residence on it, but no one has lived there. When we were doing our environmental testing and trying to coordinate going out to make sure we did not disturb the community or the habitat of that, she informed us that no one had lived there for some time. I don't have the exact dates, but that is the information we have from this seller.
Thanks, sir. Yes, sir, gentleman in the back. Please come up front. State your name and address, please.
I'm Michael Van. My address is 12535 Garland Highway. I stay across the road at that intersection. Last week, they had a DOT traffic check. You cannot sit at the bottom of that hill. That's one thing. If you left Garland, you could not see over the hill there. And then if you come down the other hill, I drive trucks. I've been driving trucks over 20-some years. They did not put no right of way for me to turn my trucks in there. And so they don't put a right of way for them to turn to go to a Dollar General. And then on top of that there, where they talking about putting that at, that's my side of the road. And nobody didn't call and ask me about putting no turning lane. Because if you put a turn lane there, they still gotta be a ditch there, so then you going on my lane.
Thanks, sir.
And so the point is, what I'm trying to say to y'all is, you dealing with 701, I drive trucks. I've been driving trucks over 20 years. When I come down that hill there, that truck pitted up speed. But by me stopping there, so I'm gonna stop, but the average truck, he picking up speed, he's not worried about no car coming at that intersection, going to no Dollar General, when he can go to Garland, that I've been going for years, and going towards Clinton. Now, only store we ever had in Ingo was that, Ambry store. So now you're up there talking about putting a Dollar General, and everybody been going to Garland for all these many years. We ain't up but 4 miles from Garland and 11 miles from Clinton. That's all I got to say.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate your comments. All right, I think that's it for the comments, so close the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
I move that we rezone the property as recommended by the planning board.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
If you're going to do that, if you'll adopt the proposed resolution with the zoning consistency statement.
I would like to go on record as saying that I would want to study a little bit more about this before we make a final decision, because I haven't heard from all of the residents that live there, and it wouldn't be fair to them to go ahead and approve a motion to accept it until we hear the voices of everyone. Not everyone, but most of the people.
Okay. Thank you.
Was a petition signed or anything?
Pardon?
No,
Withdraw your
No,
motion.
I'm just saying,
Withdraw your motion.
then we would have some
I
numbers.
withdraw my motion if you have a concern.
Okay,
Um,
Then you would, if that's what the board wants to do, you'd need to move to table it to your next meeting.
okay, so we need to table this to the next.
If that's the motion that Commissioner Lethaley is making.
would that be acceptable for the ones that are here?
It's- These concerns need to be addressed, so that's
We
the
need
only
to.
way we can address it.
We need to address these concerns that y'all have and not just run over it like it was nothing, because if it means something to you, it means something to us.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor, raise your hand. All right. Moving on. Mr. Sterling, you're up next with the,
Mr. Chairman, I think we will let the attorney, if you don't mind, give us the background of where we've been and where we are and
okay,
Mr. Chairman, so on December 5th, the board adopted a resolution directing the staff to informally solicit offers and negotiate with potential purchasers for the sale of the old emergency services building on Underwood Street. Thereafter, the board received a considerable amount of input from the public about the importance of the Veterans Memorial Park located on that property and the need to preserve that park and to ensure that the public would continue to have access to the park. So there was some additional discussion held back during the September, I believe, 2023 meeting. We spoke a little bit more about what the board's different options were for disposal of the property. We talked about sealed bid. We talked about the negotiated offer and upset bid process that you initially started pursuing, as well as at least one other. It is my understanding that the board would like to revisit the negotiated offer and upset bid process with the understanding that the Veterans Memorial Park would be subdivided from the property and would continue to be owned by the county. The county would negotiate an easement over the parking area of the remaining parent parcel so that the public can have adequate parking during public events. That process would involve the board redirecting the staff again to entertain offers from the public. If an acceptable offer is received, that would then come back to the board. The board would vote preliminarily to accept that offer, And then that would start the upset bid process where other individuals would have an opportunity to submit higher bids. Once that process is finished, then the winning bidder would receive the property from the county. We will need to get a survey of the property if the board decides to do that. And we will need to continue conversations that we had quite a while ago, with the city of Clinton about making sure that we meet the minimum lot size requirements and parking requirements that are required under their zoning ordinance. So if the board decides that that's what it's inclined to do, there is a proposed resolution that has been prepared that's on pages 30 and 31 of your agenda materials, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Anyone have a question? Commissioner Godwin, I understand you've been in conversation with the veterans.
Well, I make a motion this evening that, as what has been said, to reserve the park with the necessary bidding to go on, but the park will be reserved from the corner of the building to that nothing in the memorial will be disturbed. Also, they would love to have one of the buildings, the utility sheds. I'll put that in the motion also.
That, if you want to adopt that motion and modify the resolution that's been adopted, I don't know where that is, so I can't.
It's not contiguous to the,
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
it's gonna be two separate parcels.
No, may I try to help with a little bit of this? There's a structure on the back side of the main building that is nothing but a movable shelter.
That's all.
And I got entertained with some of y'all too. We want to move that shelters over and put it on the property. That way, if they have a rain event or whatever, they got shelter that they can get under.
It's movable.
And it's movable. It can be picked up. I understand that all that equipment that's under it now will probably move to the new building we're building anyway. There's trailers under them now that are just movable trailers. And, so there's two there, right? There's two of them there. And I think that's what you're referring to, am I
Yes.
correct?
Two
Movable shelters.
Two shelters.
They're just got like the,
So you
a
want,
metal top.
so
on
you
top.
want both or one?
I mean, I understand they said they wanted both, and we could line them up.
Is there
that
room?
what you said?
Yes.
Well, if they're not affixed to the land and the county owns them, we can just move them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I see no problem with that
I'm good with
myself.
it. Perfect.
So can we just include that in his motion?
Sure.
Okay, and I need a second.
I second.
I got a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay. That's done. Item B, Ms. Shannon?
Assessments and billings have been issued as a result of business personal property compliance reviews. The following individuals have requested an adjustment of their penalties that would be applied to their account. This is pursuant to the North Carolina general statutes. They can appeal their penalties for failure to timely list their business and personal property. Michael L. Godwin Farms would have a total penalty of $12,972.26. And Sesame Southern Swine LLC would have a total penalty of $3,797.66. Historically, the county has reduced these penalties by 1/2.
Okay. I'll accept the motion to,
I move that we reduce the penalties of both of these by 50%.
Second.
okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye, or raise your hand. All right, that's done now. Board appointments.
Okay, at this time, I have 4 board appointments I'd like for us to consider. I move that we appoint Chair Kivett to the Fire Commission. I move that we appoint Letha Lee, reappoint her to the Sampson County Health Department Advisory Committee. I move that we appoint Commissioner Godwin to the Mid-Carolina Council of Government Workforce Development Board. And I move that we approve Commissioner McClam and appoint him to the Department of the Aging Advisory Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? When you make the appointments, you don't put yourself on any board. Thank y'all so much for agreeing to serve.
Convenient. All right, we're down to consent agenda. Anyone have any questions or concerns? Not, I accept the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make such a motion to approve the Senate.
Okay, any second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. All right, the agenda's approved. That brings us to the county manager's report.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have anything to report this evening.
Okay,
If I may, I have a question and a concern for our attorney, Mr. Starling. Could you elaborate on the most recent lawsuit against our sheriff and two of the sheriff's department employees? The News and Observer had an article on this last week, and the Sampson Independent did a very thorough write-up this weekend in the paper. My concern is if we need to appropriate money for this, and what the negative impact will be since the county is already defending itself against the lawsuit from some of the sheriff department employees.
Well, Commissioner Lee, I'll have to tell you that that's not something that I would discuss in a forum like this. It involves litigation that's pending against the county, and I don't think that it would be appropriate for me to opine on that in this setting.
Okay, thank you.
thank you. All right, I think that gets us to the public comment period. Ms. Shannon, can you read the statement, public comment statement?
In accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes, a period of time is reserved for comments from the public on topics not included in our agenda this evening. Speakers will be called forward in the order that they registered and should begin by stating their name and address. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes for comments. The light on the lectern will turn yellow with 1 minute remaining and will turn red and chime when the time is up. If the allotted time is not used, remaining time cannot be yielded to another speaker. We ask that when your time is up, you promptly conclude your comments and return to your seat. The public comment section is intended to provide a forum for the board to listen to its citizens, and there should be no expectation that the board will answer questions raised during this time. A full copy of these policies and procedures is available at the registration table as well as on our website.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll also read this. The duly adopted rules of procedure and conduct for the meetings of the Sampson County Board of Commissioners sets the standards of decorum for its members, our staff, and for those in attendance as well. In these rules, we pledge to the citizens of Sampson County our respect. We ask that our citizens to likewise conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with board members and fellow citizens. Receiving input from our citizens is an integral part of our meetings and critical to the board's ability to make sound, prudent decisions that are responsive to the needs of the communities. Offered with civility, such input is very much appreciated by this board. However, per our adopted policy, commenters shall not use profanity, shall not engage in slander, read that again, shall not engage in slander or impertinent or personal attacks. Shall not engage in slander or pertinent or personal attacks as they offer public comments. Any input which is offered in the form of rude personal criticism of an individual is not only unwarranted and unnecessary, simply not helpful in our deliberation. We appreciate your compliance with these standards and decorum. And at this time, Ms. Hunt, would you please come forward? State your name and address, please. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Elaine Faison Hunt. My address is 7171 of Warsaw Road, Turkey, North Carolina, 28393. First, I would like to applaud you all for the approving a request regarding the Hopton School. I want to applaud you for having the integrity to rescind the $80 cost regarding the trash dumping. And I thought, how could I present my concern in a creative way? But the more I thought about it, the more I came to the conclusion, there is no creative way. As the word says, there's nothing new under the sun. So I come to you just as I am, crying and singing the same song I've been singing since March 2022. We are no longer asking or saying that we desire county water. We are saying that we need county water. Water is a necessity to live, and for the better part, we love living. So we desire and we want and we need and we deserve county water. We're tired of taking our clothes to the laundromat. All my white clothes are now brown. You know, we have to purchase our drinking water. We have people in the neighborhood on fixed income who can't afford to just go out and buy cases and gallons of water. We deserve to have clean water like others. We are not requesting that you give us a handout. As always, I say we are asking for a helping hand. No one seems to care about our situation, our concern, except we who live in the neighborhood. In 2024, we are seeking more than we got in 2022, more than we got in 2023. I am a firm believer that this is a possible task. I have watched and I have seen what you all have done and can do and probably will do in the future. This is what we are seeking in this year. We ask that you help us to make it happen. Please help us to get county water in the vicinity of 7171 Old Warsaw Road. Where there is a will, I've learned there is a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Next is Apostle Mons.
My name is Anthony Munns, 6248 Artremia Road, Godwin, North Carolina. I'm not in the habit of repeating myself, especially when it comes to grown people. I expect to do that with my grandchildren, but not with grown people. Last month I came and gave my number and asked that you all get in touch with me. No one chose to, so that's unacceptable. I am a taxpaying citizen. I'm one that can articulate very well what I would like to be heard. I expect for those of you who are in elected positions to adhere to what your constituents are conveying to you. So once again, I'm here for the same purpose, and that is to let you know that your DSS system is corrupt. And I got up here last month and shared just a brief intel as to what we would like to happen or form. As I said before, for the record, no one has gotten in touch with me from this board. So once again, I'm saying it, I won't say it again, but I would expect for someone to get in touch with me and sit down with those who have been affected by your DSS system. And so after last month's meeting, I was instructed that I shot the Human Resource Department in the foot because of my comments, which I didn't think they were going to do anything anyway. So it just goes to show, once again, as I stated in previous times when I was here, the unscrupulous, egregious acts that the department and the government here exhibits. And so I'm drawing attention to it once again. I'm easy to reach, 910-286-6604. And you can call me, email me, smoke screen me, whatever. You can go to my website. I have an international ministry, graceplusnothing.org. You can get in contact with me through there. I'm not hard to find. You can call the Cumberland County Sheriff's Department. I'm a chaplain down there. I can be found if you want to find me. So I'm not hard to find. And so I would appreciate, once again, if we would address these issues, because those who allow injustices to happen are just as guilty as those who are doing them. So there's blood on your hands. there's blood on your hands because you have allowed this to happen and continue to allow it to happen. Thank you. Y'all have a blessed evening.
Thanks, sir. David Brown?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Brown. I live at 3030 Fleet Cooper Road in Roseboro, North Carolina. There's a lot I'd like to say about that convenience fee. I've heard a lot of things, but I haven't had time to investigate them, so I'm not going to worry about them until I have some firm information. What I am here tonight to discuss is money. Three things that most constituents, taxpayers, whatever that you'd like to call us out there, that you don't mess with: our church, our children, and our money. If we take a conservative number that there were 20,000 letters mailed out or notices for tax, I don't know how many you mailed, it's 60 cents a piece, unless, of course, the county has a bulk mailing permit, which you might have that would substantially reduce that cost. I don't know what that percentage would be. It could be anywhere from 30 cents all the way down to as low as 15%. I'm a retired postal employee. So that cost doesn't include envelopes, paper, the printing cost, and the labor involved in getting those notices out. That's $12,000. Then you had to mail the checks back. Now, based upon the information that I read, I believe it was in a news release, I think the expected compliance rate was about 67%. I think it's what the county manager said. I'm not sure. But I said, okay, let's just say that half of that number got to be mailed back because not everybody complied. That's 10,000 letters at 60 cents a piece. That's $6,000. That's a total of $18,000 just in postage that was spent and wasted because you're not going to get any return on that. If I'm making $10 an hour, it takes me 1,800 hours to make that much money. That's a whole week's worth of work. One whole week I work for free to pay for this wasted money. That's not acceptable. If I make $20 an hour, and I don't think there are a great many people in Sampson County that make $20 an hour, it takes me 900 hours, which is a half a week. That's still a lot of money. I sat here in the September meeting and I heard that we are short money within the county. I didn't think that. I didn't think we'd lost any residents, but when I researched the census, we lost 7,000 residents. That's a pretty good number to lose right there. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe you talked about changing the property reevaluation from 8 years to 4 years. So you're taking more money. Governments don't have any money. Your bank account is zero. Stop taking my money and wasting it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right, that ends our public comment section, and that ends our meeting for tonight. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Motion